Hey guys, Katie Huller here with KidsCanReadAndWrite.com. Today I want to talk to you about why your child might be struggling to read three-letter words. You might think this is so easy, why can't they get it? Well, for some kids it is really easy and they'll catch on very, very quickly. But for other kids, even if they know all of their letters and sounds, it is a really difficult thing. Now, typically there's something else going on if it's super challenging for your child to put these sounds together into a word for more than a couple weeks, for sure. But let's talk about some of the problems that come in when people are first starting to read three-letter words with their kids. So problem number one, your kids just don't know the letters and sounds yet. So they might know them kind of, but just not enough to really read words yet. So if you point to the letter and you're trying to get your child to sound this word out, right? We have to go left to right. If you're trying to get your child to sound out the word and you point to W and your child goes, I don't know what sound that makes. Don't say, yes, you do. Just tell them what it is. Because even if they used to know it every other day before that moment, they don't know it right now. And they need a reminder. And this is probably due to a memory issue that they're having. If you've really drilled it, and they're suddenly forgetting it, or they just can't seem to get it at all. So I always like to tell kids, like for this one, oh look, the wavy water. And I show them how it looks like waves to me, like a big old wave there. So I'll say, that's W-wa. Say wa. When you see the waves, say wa. So you want to help kids. If they're struggling to remember their letters and sounds, it's most helpful to give them some kind of picture, way to remember it. When they see it, make it look like something. For E, I always say, oh, that's Granny with her hand around her ear saying, eh. And T, I might do, time out. I might time. I'll do some kind of hand motion, body motion, show them a picture, some way to relate to that letter so they can start remembering it. Because the first issue that you might have if your child's having memory issues is they just can't hang on to the letters and sounds. That does not mean they can't learn to read. It means they've got a little bit of a difficulty and you have to get past that. So if your child's one who can't read because the letter sounds just aren't coming out fast enough or at all, then you have to get past that. You have to help your child find ways to remember those letters and sounds. Drill. Go over and over and over them. Put refrigerator magnets on your refrigerator. Put bathtub letters in the bathtub. Like surround your child with letters. Everywhere they go, have them see letters. Read alphabet books. Play with letters. Make cookies out of letters. Make letters part of your routine so they're constantly seeing letters, because then learning letters and sounds is no harder than learning what a tree is or a door is or whatever. It's just vocabulary they run into all the time. So just surround your child with letters and talk about them. You can't just surround them, you have to actually talk about them. So when my daughter would be in the bathtub, we would talk about the letters and sounds. I'd say, oh look, I'm putting a wa on the tub and an eh and a ta. Let's see what that says. And we'd read it. Wa-et, wet. Okay, so you can make words in the bathtub and sound them out together, and don't make it high stakes like they have to do it all themselves. Have fun, have a conversation, make it part of life. So that's the first thing. They just have to know their letters and sounds. They have to be able to see them out of order anywhere and know them. So play games with letters and sounds, get apps with letters and sounds, put those refrigerator magnets up, put them in the tub, do puzzles, read books, all of that stuff. So that's problem number one, is they just don't know letters and sounds. Hit those hard, knock that out. Problem number two, they know letters and sounds, but when they use them, they go wa, eh, t, and they don't hear what the word is. They have no idea. W, e, t. Do you hear what's wrong with that? There's so much space between the sounds. They aren't going to hear that word. I mean, these are kids who've never done this before, and w, e, t is hard for me. So what you want to do is teach them a good blending technique. Whenever they get to the vowel, you want to use it like glue, and you want to really smush it onto the next sound. So I'm going to go w, et. Hear how I dragged that out a little longer? That's blending technique, okay? So number 2 reason kids can't read words like this is because even if they know letters and sounds, they have a terrible blending technique. I see it all the time when kids come to me for testing and they read w, e, t. And as long as the letters are small, some of them will still get it. But as you start making the words longer, that's when it falls apart and they can't hear it anymore. So they mess up. So what we want to train from the very beginning is w, et, wet. And then, okay, so here's another problem that will come. Even with a good blending technique, w, et, wet, they're going to hear et. That is just how it starts. That's good. That's a good thing. So don't be upset when they say et. That's a good thing. That means they've got those two together. And tell them, great job, great job. Now we just have to put this one on it. W, et, w, et. And probably if they have any kind of auditory processing, they're not going to hear it at all. They're not going to be able to do it. And you're going to have to train it. You're going to have to play games. Oh, I'm so what when you get, out of the shower or out of the pool or whatever. Or maybe you say, let's go for a jog. And, you just play with it until they can start hearing it and putting it together. Go get me a cup. Raise your hand, right? You just play a game. You have to develop that listening. That's a necessary step. It has to be done. So yes, it might be difficult at first, but it has to be done. Once they get the listening, it gets so much easier. So we had the main problem, they don't know letters and sounds yet. Teach them letters and sounds. Next problem, they have to have a good blending technique. Do not separate all of these sounds. Do not go w, e, t. That is really hard for kids to hear. Make sure you're dragging the vowel into the next sound. Remember, the vowels are, A, E, I, O, and U. Okay, those are our vowels. So here's an extra E. Those are the ones you want to train your child to drag into that next sound. That's important. So help them drag it. Okay, draw a little arrow to remind you, drag that into that next sound. All right, so let's say your child knows letters and sounds, they've got a good blending technique, they're really doing that, but they just aren't hearing it. Instead of wet, they say 10. Instead of jog, they say got. So what they're doing is they're hearing that last sound and coming up with a word because they can't remember the rest of it. So you have to point back here and go, oh, look, you hear the last sound, the t, but look, we have to start with the line leader. W, et. And then keep pointing back here and getting your mouth ready. Make them get their mouth ready. Say, watch. W, et. W, et. W, et. Try to help them hear it. Now, they may not. If they have auditory processing issues, it may take a while for them to really get the blending technique down. So another thing that sometimes I'll do with kids who really have a hard time hearing it is I'll put these two together. W, e, we, and then add that one. Wet, wet. So you can do that if your child is really, really struggling to ever put it together. You've worked on that a couple weeks, they're still not getting it. Show them. Wet, or og, jog, right? You're just trying to basically slow down the sound so they can hear what's happening, okay? Some people need to hear it slower. When you're talking really quickly, doing things really quickly, they just don't get it. All they get is anxious. So slow it down like the old electric company. If you're as old as I am, you can remember that. But it's like jog, jog. They have to develop the listening. So you can hate it and they can hate it, but they have to get it. That is the next step. They have to learn to blend these sounds together. It's phonemic awareness. They have to learn to do that. So the other thing I see a lot with kids who are having trouble with just their first words is they'll confuse the vowel sounds. So make sure they've got those down. Make sure they know this is granny, eh. This is the mouth wide open, ah. This is the apple. See the apple with the stem. This is the ice cream cone. Here's the ice cream falling off. You go, icky, because it's going to be so gross when it splats. This is the U getting punched in the stomach. Oh, why'd you punch me? And this is granny again. B's and D's, people who have visual processing issues have a lot of trouble keeping B's and D's straight. Tell them to track them. See what they hit first. Make it a game. You hit the back first. See, this is like the head and the legs are curled up. And we'll give them some arms. Okay, here's the person with the back first. Okay, so that's a ba. I'm going to take all this away so you can see the B again. But that's ba. So this one we go ag. Now, a lot of people have trouble with G too. They think G is ja, because when you say G, hear how it sounds like ja to them? So I like to tell them, here's the girl's face, and here's her long hair. So that's G, ga, for girl. So ag, bag, okay? This one, we have daddy's face first. That's how we know it's a D. And daddy's about to climb up the ladder to work on the roof. Okay, D, da. So dip. So I'm just always trying to help them remember the letter sound so they can bring it up quickly, because retrieval is another issue a lot of kids with dyslexia have. They just have trouble pulling up what they know. And unless they have a way to quickly grab it, oh, there's the girl with her long hair. They have trouble making the sounds, and sometimes they have trouble remembering the right sounds. So you have to get over these mountains to get your child reading. You have to get over the mountains. I didn't say it'd be easy, but I did say it's possible. For some kids, it takes a long time. I had one student who had such bad memory issues, it took him forever just to be able to read 3-letter words, and he was quite old. I believe he's 5th grade when we started. He couldn't read 3-letter words yet. If your child's in that situation, don't give up. They can learn to read. He's learning to read. It's taking him longer. We're on a slower road, but it's kind of like having a snail versus a rabbit run across the yard, right? The rabbit's going to run across very quickly. The snail is going to move slowly. Doesn't mean he can't get across the yard. Just means he's going to get there a little while later. Don't give up. It's the same road. We just have to get them there. So whether your child has memory issues, processing issues, retrieval issues, directionality issues, whatever, we have to deal with that and we have to get them there. But it doesn't mean give up. It means work harder, just like the snail. So we're just going to keep doing that. So remember, they have to know letters and sounds. They have to have a good blending technique. And they have to have the auditory processing. They have to be able to put those sounds together. So you can just call out, oh, what would da-ip be? Da-ip, dip, and just kind of sound it out with them in the beginning. Oh, look, fun, or m-et, met. Like sound it out with them in the beginning if they're really having trouble until they can start telling you what word it is while you sound it out. Do you know what a bag is? Do you know jog? What's that? Jog. Do you know what wet? And make these words, everywhere. On the refrigerator, in the bathtub, whatever. While you're driving somewhere, while you're waiting in line, you can play these games. Because you have to make sure they know letters and sounds. You have to make sure they have a good blending technique. And you have to get that phonemic awareness. That doesn't mean you need to stay on it forever. As soon as they can start going, dip, fun, met, you're in business. You're ready to go. Then you just need lots of CVC words to give them the practice. Once they can do CVC words, they can sound them out on their own, put them together, and use them in a sentence. Don't forget, you need to be asking your child what these words mean after you read them so that you know they're gaining the vocabulary too, that they're associating what they're saying with an actual word. That's really important too. And then once you get this down, you'll be ready to move on to blends. So they don't have to be able to read these fluently. They don't have to go wet, jog, bag, dip, fun, met to move on. They just have to be able to get through the word, put it together, and know what they're saying. So don't keep them till their fluency sets in or you're really going to hold them back. Kids who can sound out CVC words, consonant, vowel, consonant words, are ready to move on to beginning and ending blends. So don't keep them on CVC words just because they can't look at them and say them. Move them ahead. Their fluency will come in when it's ready. They may be sounding out words for a long time. If they're dyslexic, you have to figure out words and they don't stick as quickly as if you're not dyslexic. Or you can be dyslexic and have a good memory or a bad memory. Like they're all different types of dyslexia. So in any case, if your child can read them, meaning they can sound them out, tell you the word, tell you what it means, move on to beginning and ending blends. All right, if you have questions, let me know. I'm going to try to attach a list of CVC words for you so you can have a whole list of words to practice that they can sound out, that you can practice sounding out with them. So good luck. Let me know how it goes. I'll talk to you soon.